want to love you. You need some loving, and I'll take it there. The young thing, and now.
Hey y'all, and thank you so much for tuning in to Respectfully with Miss Pretty Young Thing. I'm your girl PYT, and let's get into it. Y'all, we're gonna quickly discuss Baddies Midwest Reunion Part 3, okay? Because we already know that Baddies Africa is going to be embarking on a journey. We already know that Baddies Gone Wild is going to be embarking on a journey. And crazy thing is, I didn't expect Zeus to give us a little breather, but it looks like they did. I looked on Zeus Network, and it looked like the only thing that was new on there was Jason Lee Show's episode of Candace Owens, if I'm not mistaken. So we love a good breather. Never saw this day coming, but it's crazy how they cannot give us anything new if they're not doing Baddies. So for that, Zeus, we gotta hit you with the Isaiah J. Boo Tomato, because it's like, I can't watch nothing else if we're not watching the typical, you get what I'm saying? So they need to do us right when it comes to that. But either or, let's go ahead and talk about it before we embark on a journey of a new season of Baddies, okay? I'm gonna do my hair and my makeup, and while I do, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, turn those post notifications on, and tell a friend to tell a friend that PYT is in the building, okay? Wig courtesy of Ali Pearl. Talk to the girls nice. All right, so that being said, part 3 of the reunion was more so dialogue. It wasn't as many fights. It was kind of the continuation of some of the circumstances that happened during the season. A little more closure when it came to some of the things that we were seeing online. And things of that nature. Now, what I can say is this before we talk about it. Y'all, I know a lot of people kept saying that the people that were in the audience were liars, but I need y'all to understand we couldn't fast forward, we couldn't pause, we couldn't zoom in, we couldn't even tell them, cut real quick, like, why are y'all beefing? Okay, well, this fight and this fight happened at the same time. Of course, if I'm watching this fight, I can see what happened in this fight, and if I'm not seeing clearly what's happening on the other fight. So it's one of those things where, of course, every audience member is going to have their own, view of certain thingies, the same way of certain fights and dialogues, the same way Saucy's going to have his, because he watching from the stage perspective while we watching from a whole different angle. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where y'all can't really fault us for not getting it as accurately as a camera would, because we're not a camera lens, respectfully. So that being said, if I say somebody won and another audience member say somebody won, that's just based on what we seen and where we seen it. Because I was on stage left, they could have been on stage right, they could have been on the floor panel that was on the top left. You hear what I'm saying? Like, they could, Saucy was way up there saying, some of the opposite stuff from what we seen. You hear what I'm saying? There was a point in time where Saucy came in the audience, and we had to tell him that what we saw is different from what he saw, type-ish. You hear what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, y'all can't fault us, because being there is way different from watching it. Will I regret any part of that? Absolutely not. I had a ball, I had a blast, I had a ball, I had a blast. But I just wanted to get that disclaimer out there. So the episode immediately started off with Bad Dolly and Ivory, okay? We already know they had their fair share of words, or whatever the case may be, on the social medias. So it's time for them to, do them. I feel like Dolly felt like Ivory should have had her back in more circumstances. I feel like them coming as, now that's TV sisters, I guess you can say, they were disappointed in each other, or whatever the case may be. So now Lex and Ivory ended up having a standoff where Lex basically said, I'm done fighting you. All right, and they did not continue with another round, which I think they ended up finishing off with 2 rounds, which I definitely feel like Ivory won the second round. Lex and her were tied the first round, in my humble opinion, watching it, So then from there, if I'm not mistaken, they were about to cool it down, and then they ended up fighting and doing one more scrap anyway, which that scrap ended up being a tie. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. That's my opinion. Okay. So then from there, it turned into Jayla versus Lex, right? So Jayla is now at this point in time screaming, what are we fighting for? Now, I do agree with Jayla, but then at the same time, Jayla, we can't say, what are you fighting for, when you called her out saying, see you at the reunion. If that's the case, why are you calling her out saying, see you at the reunion? If you don't even know what you're fighting for. Why are you calling somebody out, telling them you'll see them somewhere where y'all know y'all gonna fight, if you don't even know what we are fighting for? That's just my humble opinion on it, because I hate it when the girls ask, what are we fighting for? Knowing dang well they've been fighting this entire time for whatever the reason is. Just because you don't disagree with the reason doesn't mean you have the right to ask, what are we fighting for? Because you're on Zeus. Because this is what the people want. Because blood, sweat, tears will be shed. You get what I'm saying? So they end up doing a round or whatever the case may be, which ends up getting Jayla on the ground. Lex definitely tore her. And this is the same round that Jayla ends up biting Lex's arm. Therefore, Lex ends up biting Jayla's nose. Jayla never returns to the stage, but her nose is definitely leaking. Okay, so in the behind the scenes clip that I gave y'all, I did tell y'all that Jayla's face was leaking when she left the stage, okay? So by this point in time, Lex is walking around all in the background, I guess trying to find Lex or whatever the case may be. Lex is walking in the background trying to find Jayla, because by that point in time, we see the big bruise on her arm from the bite. You see scratch marks on her neck. Y'all, let me know in the comments how you feel about it, because Jayla, in my opinion, is a gigantic hypocrite in so many different ways. Now, hypocrite is always the word that I choose to use when it comes to baddies, because at the end of the day, you're not going to tell me you're going to give this Martin Luther King speech about biting just one season ago, and all of a sudden, this is the result. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So then right after that, we get Summer versus Ivory. No, sorry. Summer versus, what's this young lady name? Jasmine. Ivory jumps in Summer versus Jasmine by clipping the mess out of her ankle. When I tell you, she toppled like a domino, like she literally flamed sideways. And it was just a little clip of the ankle. Like, what that tells me, either Ivory got some strong ankles, or Summer, you weigh about 120 pounds. You're light as a feather, because she toppled with light, child. Now, what I will say is this as well. Jasmine and Summer, I did not care to see them scrap. I did not care to see them scrap. It was one of those things where that's not a fight that I care to see for the millionth time. But I will say this, Jasmine looked very, very, very cute doing what she had to do. She's one of the rare women that can show the straight back. She didn't even come with the wig on. She said, F the wig. Let me show y'all the straight backs that I have that's going up under the wig. Y'all finna see me in tomorrow. And that's what's gonna be that. Okay, and I was 100% here for it, okay? Now, there's a lot of part of the reunion that I definitely was just like taken aback by. I already talked about how Tasiki, you know, did her thing with the dramatics off camera, or whatever the case may be. Biggie running away from her situation, or whatever the case may be. Like, it was just like a lot happening. I told y'all it was gonna be a lot happening. So it was just one of those things where, child, it was a lot. Now, Saucy ended up saying between Lex and Ivory, they stuck with each other. Like I said, I feel like Ivory definitely won. From the audience perspective, I said that Ivory won both. By the time I was there, it was a whole different situation. And Ivory won the second one. Okay. Now, Bad Dolly versus Pretty P ended up coming head-to-head in the middle of discussion. I remember Pretty P got up and was just like, F what y'all talking about, like, let's go. Okay, respectfully, in the words of Saucy, Dolly tore. Because when I tell you in person, Dolly's uppercuts were uppercutting. Like, I feel like Pretty P was definitely getting her during the season. Pretty P definitely had her looking like Dolly Scissorhands. Pretty P definitely can fight. But Dolly was waiting for the moment for her to get a good grip. Pop, pop, pop. Because you heard every knock of her head. Like, it was definitely like, she ate. Okay, and then after that is when Saucy kind of sort of tells Johnnisha, you know, that Dolly definitely ate, and she's like, she did? And I agree with Saucy. Talk about something, I hate it when y'all work, like, act like y'all eyes don't work. Like, y'all sat there and watched her get pummeled. Watch Pretty P leave with a broken. The thing about it is, it's crazy because Pretty P's face was leaking. I didn't see her face leaking on the episode or whatever the case may be, but it is what it is. So Johnnisha ends up giving Pretty P her praise, saying she's one of the most underrated baddies, which I definitely agree. I feel like Pretty P ended up growing on the cast growing on the people as the, you know, show ended up going on, because I remember when everybody was calling her a granny or whatever, saying her teeth look crazy, whatever the case may be. Child, it was just a lot happening. So then after that, they end up saying that Tommy is coming out. Once again, they are trolling. Natalie, pump fake. Saucy was heavy, I don't even know what to say. Saucy, Tommy! We started screaming Tommy in the crowd because Saucy started the chant. It was just like a lot. Okay? So then by the time everybody calmed down, Jasmine put her wig back on, and Johnnisha started hyping her up, saying, I think that you are a baddie. Basically she was saying, I do feel like I'm a baddie, or whatever the case may be. I'm a baddie to the beat of my own drum. That's basically what she said. She's not a follower. She doesn't have to do everything for likes and views the way some of these other girls be, or whatever the case may be. And which I totally, definitely agree, understand, and everything like that. I think the only complaint that I really have about Jasmine is, like, she really had no storyline outside of Summer, and Summer formulated that storyline for her. So it's one of those things where if Summer did not like you, what would be your storyline? What would you talk about? Would you have, you know, gave your energy towards somebody else organically? Because we know that the EPs be telling them, you know, you need to fight, you need to be interesting, or you going home, or whatever the case may be. Didn't happen. She just kept scrapping with Summer. But either way, Nunu comes out. That one that only lasted a couple episodes comes out, Yoshi. And I think Emma ended up coming out, or whatever the case may be. Emma, this is the part where Emma, I didn't understand. Because all of us as audience members said that Emma was lying about getting jumped. We ended up finding out, you know, together as viewers, that she got jumped behind the stage, or whatever the case may be. Be that as it may, why would Emma get on that stage and not defend her honor? You just got pummeled behind stage. You just got played behind stage. Bad Dolly is less than a reach away from you, and you had the audacity to sit there and not even bring it up. That's why we called her a liar, because it's one of those things where it's just like, it's literally right there. Like, instead, you want to run with the situation. Oh, calling Scotty boring, We saw with our own two eyes. You're boring. You're boringer than Scotty. Like, we love to say that Scotty, you know, is boring, but I think Scotty is like in her forever soft girl era, and you just had no excuse. Now, they did definitely, Rolly stood up for Scotty, saying that she didn't even know her, and she came with her preconceived notion. and kind of sort of use that to kind of more make judgment. But it's one of those things where you kind of sort of can understand having preconceived notion because you're auditioning for a show, because you're getting to know the characters from your couch, whatever the case may be. But I definitely understand where they're coming from, where Emma should not have, used that preconceived notion as her storyline, because it definitely was a whack one. It was funny at first because it was just like, I just want to fight you because you're boring and I'm taking your spot. And it was just like, oh, who is this? Where's she going with this? It was just like off guard because no one ever calls Scotty out for not doing anything. So Emma's kind of the first one. But the fact that there was nothing else to talk about besides that and music throughout the entire season for her is what made her whack, because you can't call somebody out and then not give us an opportunity to see your personality after weeks of watching you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, what were you saying about that other girl? Huh? You said she was boring? Like, we don't even know who you are after all these weeks. All we know is that you came for her and that you dance on the internet. That we had to research. So it's one of those things where it's just like, what was the reason? What was the reason? There was absolutely no reason, okay? So like I said before, I feel like it makes sense. They got to do their homework. They got to clock their own tea. They came in with their own preconceived notions. They come to the auditions already knowing which baddies that they like based on what they see or whatever the case may be. But what I definitely can say is this: if the newbies didn't come with the energy that they did, this season would have been boring. Okay? So I'm glad that they came with the energy that they did, because what else would we be watching when it comes to Midwest if it wasn't with the preconceived notions of some of these newbies or whatever the case may be? You get what I'm saying? So it's like, those preconceived notions were the storylines for some of these girls. Think about it. Summer didn't like Anna Mac. Why? Because of the preconceived notion of her being whack for stopping the fight between her and Mariah Lynn. Emma don't like Scotty for obvious reasons. Lex don't like Jayla for, obvious reasons or whatever the case may be. All of them have problems with Scotty for whatever reason. Remember, even Pretty PE called out DTVE for looking at her strange or whatever it was that she said. So it was one of those things where it was just like, I get it, but they took it to the extreme. Even the Pretty P thing, that's what had me looking at Pretty P crazy from the very beginning. Like, girl, talking about some DTP looked at you crazy. I would have been looking at all of y'all crazy, because y'all approach on day one was not what they're used to. So it is what it is. So now, Jonisha ends up pulling Nunu to the side to basically say that Yoshi did not bring much to the table, and Natalie called her out for being boring. Now, what I will say is this: they definitely did a good job of taking, clips or whatever the case may be. I said this before. It was just hilarious to me that a lot of the time, the clips that they had to take to the side did not make Natalie look good. So basically, Yoshi ends up saying that she doesn't feel like she was boring this season, but she was only on the show for like 10 seconds, so she didn't give an opportunity to like show who she really is or whatever the case may be. And she felt like she had a lot going on, and it is what it is. And she basically told other people that, end up getting on the show, use that opportunity to take off with it or whatever, but she had a lot going on personally. But it is what it is. So they end up talking to Nunu, basically saying that their fans did not get enough of Nunu last year, so it was good that she ended up coming back. What I will say is this: we definitely should get a full season of Nunu. This is the second time that we brought her in like a replacement type setting. This time around, we got to see her, do her, and it is what it is. I feel like Nunu is a very extremely likable character, but I want to see her in a light where she's not really beefing with nobody. I feel like if she were to come back on Africa, which we know she's not, like, now that her and Anna are not on terrible terms, they could actually be good. Now that her and Baby or whatever, and Anna and Biggie are not a thing, I could see that being a thing. I could see her chilling with the OGs and whatever the hell. Like, I want to get to know Nuno outside of Antonio Brown, and I feel like this platform is a good way for her to do it. It's just a matter of getting it done. All right. So then from there, Biggie and Tasiki end up going back on stage. Remember, Tasiki did her award-winning performance in the back, acting a plum fool. I'm still trying to figure out why she was acting a fool, because we keep saying that she won. We keep saying, you know, that she had, you know, the upper hand when it comes to fighting or whatever the case may be. But why are you spazzing? Like, if somebody can please get in my comments and explain to me why Tasiki was doing the most. I don't understand it. Okay. So then from there, Anna Mac kind of sort of has a shift in her mood by the time they come back, because Biggie is now on the stage. So Janisha asked her straight up, what's going on with you and Biggie? She said that Biggie basically watched her get jumped. So then they're basically trying to get to the, you know, meat and potatoes of the situation, which we already know how Anna feels. Anna wants Biggie to at least be there for her friends. Anna wants Biggie to at least be a woman of her word. Anna wants Biggie to kind of sort of like at least de-escalate it. At least don't leave her by herself looking crazy. You get what I'm saying? Like, I get it. I get it. Because it's one of those things where Anna Mac always has her back. You get what I'm saying? Anna Mac always has her back. She's not necessarily jumping into fights like people think, swear up and down that she wants her to do. But she kind of sort of roasts a person, de-escalates a person, roots for her friend, you know, fixes her wig at least. Anna Mac wig was nowhere to be found for the rest of the episode, and the Biggie definitely didn't have it. She definitely didn't hold it down. You know what I'm saying? At least hold my boots. You know, she had the big old boots or whatever. So it was just like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you know, feel about that, because I feel like we've watched it go on so long. I feel like Biggie definitely came on the show with one personality, and now she's on Baddy timeout as a whole different human being. Like, how we met her, this is not the Biggie that we met. So it's one of those things where, like, if you were putting on during that season with Stunna for the camera or whatever, just tell us that. Just tell us that you're an actress like BTV. Just tell us that you were chasing clout that season, and now you don't feel like chasing clout no more. Because I feel like, I'm starting to feel like that's what it is. Like, I made it, I got a couple checks, I'm here, I'm going to keep collecting my checks without doing anything, because it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever. So, Biggie basically said that stop trying to force me to fight because I don't want to. And it's one of those things where, like, I don't think they're getting it. Like, she really don't care for her to fight. But don't, in the back, say, I'm on what y'all are, but then when we on the stage, you are not on what I'm on. Like, you're acting scary. You're hiding behind a pregnant woman. You're doing the exact opposite of what you said that you were going to say. And honestly, that would frustrate anybody. Like, imagine you riled up in front of your enemies or whatever. They coming for you. They popping is your friend, you know, an hour or so before y'all came out there, said, I got your back. I'm on what you on. Just tell me, you know, I'm here with it. But then when the situation happened, all of a sudden. So it is what it is. Now, from there, somebody in the audience wanted to say that Biggie be doing the same thing that Scotty be doing. So what's the difference? I disagree immediately, because at the end of the day, Scotty does get in the paint. Scotty does defend her friends. So remember, Scotty jumped in for Anna and hit Summer, which is why her and Summer are going back and forth in the first place. Her and Summer had no problem really like that before that. Before that, it was just Summer getting under her skin and getting on her nerves for constantly jumping in her situation. Her back and forth between her and Rolly, whatever the case may be. Before that, they didn't really have no problems. So let me know in the comments how you feel about that, because it's one of those things where, I don't know, like, their interaction was, child, I don't know what to say. So then from there, Biggie is automatically given Anna Mac an inkling of energy in which she's realizing that the friendship is not worth it. I feel like Anna realized that or whatever. So she ends up leaving the stage. Now, Rolly ends up following her to kind of sort of, calm her down and tell her, it's not worth it. You gotta, and it was kind of funny because she left the stage to kind of sort of not be in the face of the camera, just for the camera to follow. And she was like, I just don't want to cry on camera. And Rolly's like, you don't have to. And the camera's right there. And she's like, oh, never mind. There they go. And it was just like, okay. But basically, Anna Mac I feel like everybody understands where Anna Mac is coming from except for Biggie. And it's one of those things where I don't understand if Biggie just doesn't understand or if Biggie just don't give a damn. I'm kind of sort of rolling with the Biggie just don't give a damn because Biggie, you're not slow. You're not slow. You understand what your friend is kind of sort of expecting of you. You just feel some type of way about it and don't want to succumb to, throwing yourself in the fire, even though you threw yourself in the fire by saying that you were going to have her back in the first place. Like, it's kind of sort of a weird situation to be in. But I feel like Biggie puts herself in those situations. Like, if my friend tells me that they gonna have my back, I'm gonna expect them to have my back. Like, I'm not in this alone. I'm coming in with a 2-on-1 mentality. You get what I'm saying? So, I don't know. So, basically, during this clip, while Anna and Rolly are behind stage or whatever, is when the audience member on stage right, I want to say, was going back and forth with Biggie from the stage, saying that she wants to, whatever. And by this time, Biggie leaves the stage. So there was a particular audience member that felt some type of way. There was a bunch of audience members that were just like, all right, well, if you don't want to fight your co-workers, you can fight us, whatever the case may be. And, child, basically, Biggie was feeling emotionally scarred because by this point in time, it legit looked like the producers were about to mic this girl up and give her time to shine. Like, when I tell you, like, it was just an interesting circumstance to be in from where we were seeing that, because even Bobby Lights was talking about something, who wants to confront Biggie, raise your hand or something like that. And it was just like, I know you lying. Like, they really setting this girl up. Like, I understand Biggie's frustrations, but then at the same token, it's one of those things where, like, welcome to Baddies. Like, you keep signing contracts season after season after season and letting these producers, letting these baddies publicly humiliate you in that sense. So just keep coming. So you just gonna keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. But then you're gonna get upset when they're expecting you to do the same thing that you did to get here in the first place. You hear what I'm saying? So, it is what it is. Let me know how you feel about it. Dolly, Big Lex, and Summer end up coming back on the stage. Dolly got an ice pack to her face. Lex got scratches on her neck or whatever the case may be. Summer is summering or whatever the case may be. So Jonisha welcomes her back to the stage. They look tired. By this point in time, it probably was a good 2 o'clock in the morning. So Jonisha basically asked Ivory if her and Big Lex are good. Lex said that she was cool. I said I was cool, so it is what it is. So Ivory basically said, yeah, we just had to get that out the way, or whatever the case may be. And Ivory did mention the fact that Lex said, if I didn't apologize to you, then you said it was up and stuck. So she gave her another round, which honestly she did say. So Lex, you can't sit here and say that we really ain't got no reason to fight if the last time I saw you, you basically called me out and said that I owe you a fade. Well, here's the fade that is owed, or whatever the case may be. So then from there, Ivory said, what she said as far as Summer goes, and then Summer's like, you the one that got a problem with me. So that's when Ivory gets up and she kind of sort of approaches Summer, or whatever the case may be, and it's just like, so what's up? Towards Summer. Summer did not get up. One thing about Summer, she definitely remember at the beginning of the season where we were just like, we like Summer because Summer does not pick and choose. She's with whatever, whenever, however. This is false. Summer absolutely picks and chooses because she definitely did not give Ivory the time of day when Ivory approached her head on. And she absolutely never gave Tinkerbella the time of day, even after she got her blonde wig snatched straight off her head for allegedly saying what she said about taking her battery chain or whatever the case may be. So it's one of those things where, like, we can't be blind towards right in front of our faces. You know what I'm saying? Like, Summer, yes, indeed is picky choosy, but all of the baddies are. But let's not, I feel like I want to particularly say, call Summer out in regards to this, because she's the main one that people be like, oh, I like Summer. She gonna call everybody out. She gonna do this, she gonna do that. Not necessarily, because I'm still waiting for her to fight for her rights against Tinkerbella, because Tinkerbella had her looking crazy. Tinkerbella smacked her across her mouth like that was her daughter. And she did nothing. And even Saucy called her out, saying that her energy be different when it comes to Ivory. I was waiting for somebody to say, and Tinka, her energy be different when it comes to Tinka. I mean, there's nothing she can do about that until Tinka laid that egg. But it doesn't change the fact that, like, people are, like, skating by it. And it's so annoying. Like, are we going to act like that didn't happen? Like, I feel like that same day, Summer was, 5 seconds later trying to talk about or scrap with somebody else. So then from there, Ivory, they're trying to de-escalate the Ivory and Summer situation, and Ivory reaches her talking about something. Let's just hug it out. It is what it is. We ain't really beefing. And Summer's just like, yeah, I'm cool with you, but I don't want to hug. Ivory ends up a lot of people are speculating whether or not Ivory was actually serious about the hug or whatever. Ivory ended up saying on Instagram that she was not. She was about to do something to Summer. Summer, smart girl. Smart girl. Okay. So now basically Summer and Scotty talked through their situation, where Summer is basically just like, look, I feel like the way you did Natalie, I ain't like it. Basically the conversation that she inserted herself into, whatever the case may be. Now, let me know in the comments how you feel about this discussion, because basically Summer was saying it was a discussion with everybody by that point in time, because y'all had that discussion in front of us. You made it our business. Therefore, at this point in time, I inserted my 2 cents. I understand Summer wholeheartedly when it comes to this. But I think where Summer went wrong is she's the only person that was adding emphasis on it, on top of the fact that she was choosing sides on the discussion when it wasn't even meant for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where, like, when two people are having a discussion that ain't got nothing to do with me, I always do my best to remain neutral on it, because at the end of the day, this is none of my business. Y'all just happen to be discussing it in front of me. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that's where Summer looked crazy and weird, even from a fan perspective, but especially to like a Summer perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Like, I understand Summer's explanation, because it's the first time that we kind of sort of heard her explanation for it, and the explanation definitely made sense. But how she executed it was definitely stupid. Now, they ended up discussing, Anna Mac and her, helping Anna Mac. Scotty helping Anna Mac, whatever the case may be, asking if they're a duo, if they're in a thing or whatever. And I think it's one of those things where they're not necessarily a duo. They had a common enemy. They both were, coming at her at the same time. And Scotty simply did not like how Anna was did in that moment. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily much to discuss. I think the back and forth between Anna and Scotty was a little dumb, though, because at the end of the day, Summer did not have the full scope of it. All she knew was when they got into the newbies got into the house, the OGs were definitely having an interesting exchange of words. So it was definitely open to interpretation that the OGs are, at odds or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I don't know. It was just a lot of moving pieces. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it. Because even from there, I started asking Lex, you know, what was going on as far as her inserting herself in the situation between Anna Mac and Summer, whatever the case may be. But I think it's one of those things where Lex just straight up does not like Anna. I feel like this energy that Lex has towards Anna Mac was, once again, a preconceived notion. I think it's one of those things where she felt some type of way about her before she even got on the show. So then by the time she got on the show, she already, knew in her head, now Anna's annoying, Anna talk too much, Anna be, jumping into situations that ain't got nothing to do with her. Therefore, I'm going to spare her because she's small. But then at the same token, like, she already did not like her. That's just what it is. Anna kept saying, not Anna, Lex kept saying, I'm going to spare you because she's small and she going to look like a bully, basically. Jumping down this little girl's throat or whatever. And Lex was basically saying that she felt like Anna, they always make excuses for Anna because she's little, whatever the case may be. Which Anna, I will say, I got tired after a while of Anna screaming, I'm little. Why are you trying to fight me? I'm little. You trying to, have a situation with the littlest one. And that little word, I was not trying to hear it no more. I will say. But one thing about Anna Mac, regardless of her being little, her wig will fly, her hair will be disheveled, and she will stand up for her rights. That's just what it is. They had an opportunity to talk about Tasiki versus DTB, basically saying that Dolly did the best out of anybody that fought Tasiki, whatever the case may be, and they kind of sort of called it a truce on the stage. Tasiki did not have nothing to say about it, the usual. But it's one of those things where, like, Tasiki, it's moments like this where I need to hear what you got to say, because I don't even remember necessarily why her and Bad Dolly have issues. I just remember something happened on the internet where, like usual, Tasiki brought her name up, and Bad Dolly ain't like the tone in which she said it, or the fact that her name was brought up in the first place. I don't remember. But I'm just saying that because that's how it usually is. So I'm assuming that's how it was. I just remember one day I looked on the internet and Bad Dolly and Tasiki was beefing. And child, just like the internet, I went along with it. Like, I really don't remember the stem of it. But Dolly was just like, it is what it is. We ain't got no real reason to beef. And Tasiki ain't say nothing. You were doing all that spazzing behind the scene, but you ain't got nothing to do with saying on the stage. That's the irritating thing about Tasiki. Irritating. So then from there, they end up calling out Slim. All right. Slim gets on the stage, whatever the case may be. Her and Rolly, they basically go back and forth for the remainder of the reunion, because it's one of those things where Rolly said that Slim was asking for money. My friends respectfully ask me for money every now and again. I've had to borrow on an occasion or two, or whatever the case may be. If my check hitting tomorrow and I need to do something Thursday, and it's not Thursday because my check ain't coming till Friday, and I gotta get a little loan, whatever the case may be, I can do that with my friends. So I don't understand the call out on that. And then the call out on Rolly acting like they were never real friends to begin with, I felt like was strange. When I first learned of a Rolly and a Slim, they came in as the number 10. Now, I did not watch them on Real Chance at Love or whatever the case may be, but when they hit the Baddies stage, when I started watching Baddies, I got introduced to them as the number 10. So if y'all are coming in as a duo, you didn't come in as a solo act. How can you now say that we were just TV friends, we were just this, we were just that? Because y'all could have just been individual TV friends, but you decided to be a duo with her. Why? If there's nothing special about this young lady, why be a duo with her? So at that point in time, I can't really side with Rolly. They kind of sort of started discussing the origin of their circumstance, which I still say at the end of the day is Rolly. Because Rolly, if audience members are talking about the Gretz situation, why are you bringing Slim into it? Oh, well, y'all don't tell Slim to not say the N-word because she's not fully black. Respectfully, Rolly, you started it. Because at that point in time, her daddy had freshly passed away. Freshly passed away. So it's one of those things where I'm not trying, one, me and you not seeing eye to eye, and you're bringing me up. Like, all of the examples she could have gave. She could have said Zendaya. She could have said, it's just so many. She could have said Terrence Howard. Ain't Terrence Howard Mama White or something like that? I don't know. She could have said, what's Pretty Eye's name? From Think Like a Man, the one Taraji P. Henson was dating. There's so many people that she could have said that have some sort of white in them, or whatever the case may be. So I just don't understand why you chose Slim's daddy. It was just too much. You did that on purpose, and it triggered her. And I feel like people are dumb if you think that when your daddy died, you're not going to be triggered by anybody bringing them up and isn't wishing them a condolences. I'm sorry. People are just like, oh, she didn't really say nothing about her daddy. He's dead. Don't bring him up at all. That's just how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? That's why when everybody was just like, oh, Nicki Minaj saying lying on your dead mama, a rap beef, you could go in any directions. Yeah, I understand that. But in real life, in the streets, I would understand if Megan had to unalive her. I would understand it, because you're talking about my mother. Now, from there, they ended up discussing my dead mama. From there, they ended up discussing Slim and Rolly and the sneak of it all, and Summer inserting her antennas or whatever the case may be, and the escalation of the beef between them on a physical manner or whatever the case may be. Respectfully, it was just very disgusting. You know what I'm saying? Watching Rolly do what she do during the entirety of the season, because it was just like, it was strange. They ended up also getting to talk about Scotty when it came to that, and which is the reason why her and Rolly don't see each other eye to eye, because of the fact that Scotty, kind of sort of wasn't making any sense when it came to why she apologized to the fans instead of to Slim about, not having her back. Now, from there, they ended up having a conversation with Summer as to why Summer inserted herself into the business and why they were fighting. Now, this was after Slim and Summer had words or whatever the case may be. So I feel like the timing was probably terrible. But respectfully, I still look at Summer crazy for bringing up her dead dad, especially considering the fact that Summer, your daddy just died after that. Like, their dads only have a degree of separation by a couple months. They died in the same year. So it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't understand how you can sit here and say, I apologize for, saying what I said about your dead daddy. I feel like, Slim, I understand you, forgiving her. It is what it is, because y'all really ain't got no real beef aside from her public disrespect or whatever the case may be. But I would have said something. That's just what it is. But it was very big of Summer to apologize to Slim for bringing up her dad, whatever the case may be. And it's safe to say that the relationship between Slim and Rolly is kaput. It's definitely very clear that Rolly does not care to forgive her for bringing up her son, even though the entire world definitely questions her parenting skills. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, whatever. So then from there, in person, Slim had more to say, but Lemmy kind of sort of was just like, all right, it's time to wrap it up. We got to go home. So I feel like Slim definitely could have and should have had more dialogue. I feel like Rolly was definitely overpowering her like she always does as far as conversation goes. And honestly, they played Slim just a little bit. Now, they ended up doing their closings or whatever. Summer, shout out to Baddies Midwest. Lex basically saying that, Baddies changed her. My whole life has changed since Baddies Midwest. I don't regret. Bad Dolly basically said that how she was on the show is never how she's ever going to be again, because she felt like people took advantage of her kindness. You know, she just gonna do her. She's not gonna look to be cool with anybody. Thank you for waking up the beast in me or whatever. The Dolly that y'all had before, y'all ain't never gonna see that bitch again. Or whatever the case may be. So Dolly hit us with one of those. Nunu was basically just like, listen, I was here, I had a time, I collected check. Thank you for calling me again, Lim. I still ain't getting no full season, but it is what it is. I think the highlight of Nunu during the season, though, was just like, I felt like Tupac. I don't know why. That line was so funny to me. She just got a key out of it. Like, dang, Tommy crazy. Had us running. I love her personality. She's so cute. They ended up talking to Yoshi. It was not necessary for Yoshi to give her the thing, but I feel like she was just on the stage. Let's just get it out of the way. You know, let her say hello final words. Who was next? Jaden said basically, thank you for the opportunity. She was the only celebrity guest to last the entire season. I think she always gonna like put that, over or whatever the case may be. But that's not true, actually. Because wasn't Sky Tatted technically a celebrity guest? She stayed for the entirety of the season. She stayed in the same house as these hoes. You did the, bare minimum. Sky at least inserted her 2 cents in certain circumstances and brought a little bit of peace. Rolly said her thing. Jasmine basically said shout out to Baddies Midwest and thank you for the opportunity, and basically threw a little shade at Summer. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So I don't know. I feel like I would love to see. I want to see Jasmine in another light. I feel like Baddies is not the type of light where I can appreciate a girl like her, or whatever the case may be. Ivory said, y'all done put me in rooms that I could never imagine to be in. Hopefully I could come back next season about her ish. And respectfully, I still haven't get to see Drink My Pinot Cup side of Ivory. I still need to watch it over on Now That's TV, but I can appreciate getting to know Ivory over on Baddies. And a lot of people that say that they did not like her on Now That's TV as the villain, but love her soft girl era on Zeus. So I can definitely appreciate it. They said, shout out to Pretty P. Pretty P did her little, onesie twosies. And she was just like, even if y'all don't choose me again, I can fly to Africa on my own. Talk your ish. Or whatever the case may be. Who else did they talk about? They talked to Emma. Even though I left early, I had a good time. Child. I don't know. There was nothing that had to be said. It was just, it just was what it was, child. What Tinka said? Tinka said, thank you to Zeus for putting her gender reveal together because everything was pink in the room or whatever. She said Natalie was the godmom or whatever. Just a lot of trolling. Oh, she talked to Saucy Santana saying that she was the least favorite and did not recognize her. I think she needs to get over that because at the end of the day, girl, you was 10 different tones last season. So, and it was Tommy that didn't recognize you. They asked her that she came up with a name for the girl or whatever the case may be, and she has not. Summer over here, Summer. It's a child. Tasiki, they talked to her, basically said, I'm sorry what happened earlier about her Alicia, her beast, and that's it. Child, next. I'm glad she's not coming back. I'm sorry. We were great without her. Okay? Y'all thought at the beginning of the season that sit down with Krishan was going to bring some sort of something. No. And that's just what it is. Biggie. I feel like Biggie was her own karma. Over here talking about something, and I'm going to be back, and there's nothing y'all can do about it. Something like that. Basically, trolling. I don't know. She made fun of the girl in the audience that had the leopard print on, called her turtle skirt, which was hilarious. Anna said, I love y'all, even though I hate some of y'all or whatever. It was a great season. Thank you, Zeus. Summer over here talking about something. Thank you, Summer. One thing was Anna Mac, I can't take her serious. She had half of Rolly's wig on, and it was just so funny. Like, I don't know. She's hilarious. They let Rolly say her final thoughts, and I want to say that was the last part. Rolly says Zeus is always going to be home to her. She definitely is a household name, and she can only thank Zeus. She given B's jobs still to this day. She said, all the new girls to come, stand on y'all ish. And don't be reaching for no sympathy, because y'all see where it gets you. I don't know. Shots all around. Scotty goes, thank you, Natalie, thank you, Zeus. And that's just what it is. Summer over here cutting it off, talking about something. Next, girl, you taking too long. Summer, calm down. Okay, baby, calm down. And that's just what it was. She took this final thoughts right out of her mind, because after that, Scotty kept telling her to shut the F up. Natalie talked about how she never thought in the middle of years that this was going to be the most lit season. Tommy coming with the pow pow. I still wish Tommy would have came in. I am glad that Tommy is making her headliner over on Baddies Africa, though. Yeah, and then that was basically the end of the reunion, because Natalie summarized it, and then, we went home, or whatever the case may be. I definitely had a ball. I definitely had a blast. It was definitely more dialogue, like I said before, in the last half, or whatever the case may be. To be continued in Africa, which Africa comes out next week. It definitely was a time. It definitely was a good, reunion. Scale of 1 to 10, how did I feel about this one? This episode was definitely on, I'll give it a 7. Just because there were some conversations that I wanted to hear more about, and some conversations I wanted to hear less about. There were some people that didn't get an opportunity to speak, Slim. And that's just what it was. How I felt about the reunion as a whole, definitely a 9. Definitely their best reunion all together. It had a good amount of I told y'all, it had a good amount of dialogue, good amount of squabbles, good amount of chaos, good amount of toxicity, and altogether it definitely was a key. And altogether it definitely, had our attention. I feel like this season definitely trumped past seasons in a lot of different ways. One of the ways was this is the first set of actually interesting newbies. Even though they got their head start on the season by hating on the OGs, it still was an interesting approach that worked. Let's be honest. It was different, but it worked. They all came in saying, we coming in as a villain. Okay? One of them came in instantly coming for Scotty. One of them came in instantly coming for J-Lo. One of them came in instantly coming for Anna. It just gave a cast of villains. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It definitely gave the show character as far as this season goes. I feel like without their, approach, it wouldn't have been as interesting of a season. I feel like they did their big one, coming in as a villain. Remember at the beginning of the season, we was all like, these newbies is weird, what is happening? And then the other half of us was just like, finally, newbies that are standing on business calling these OGs out. So it was like, they each individually became household names because of their approach. And we can't knock them on that. We gotta give credit where credit is due. So big shout out to them. Big shout out to them. Okay? Y'all, here's my face. Here's my hair. here's where we are. Let me know in the comments how you felt about the season. Let me know in the comments how you felt about the reunion. Let me know in the comments who you're looking forward to seeing for Baddies Africa. I'm going to do my best to do a breakdown of the cast of Baddies Africa this week, based on what we've been seeing on the blogs, based on their casting, based on a whole bunch of different things. So be on the lookout for that. I appreciate y'all for taking the time to watch this. Once again, like, comment, subscribe, turn those post notifications on, and tell a friend to tell a friend that PYT is in the building. I appreciate y'all so much for being here, and thank y'all for watching PYT TV. Mwah. Respectfully.
I'll take it there.